All right, everybody. So the college football playoff rankings have come out. I don't want to jump out the window and get everybody's hopes up. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to get my own hopes up. I don't want to get your hopes up. So I'm not going to come out here and say that the Hurricanes have an excellent chance of making the college football playoffs if they just went out. Wink, wink. Because the last time we came out and we were all excited about potentially being the number one team in the country, we lost. The last time we talked about being a shoe-in for the college football playoffs, we found ourselves on the outside looking in. So this year, I'm not going to jump on here and tell y'all that as long as the Hurricanes just went out, we're going to make the college football playoffs. Wink, wink. I'm not going to do that. But I do want to go through some scenarios real quick, okay? Because after I watched that the committee, after I saw their picks and all that stuff, I looked at this and then I looked at schedules remaining and I'm like, I don't know. So let's just say this, okay? You have to be in the top, they say top 12, but you really got to be in the top 10. The reason why you have to really be in the top 10 is, let's say you were in the top 11, okay? Keep in mind that there's got to be there's 5 different teams that are guaranteed to get in. That's Big 12, Big 10, SEC, the ACC, and a Power 5 school. So those 5 have to get in no matter what. When you look at these rankings, if you just go up and down these rankings, there's one team in the Big 10. There's a bunch of teams in the Big 12. There's, of course, teams in the SEC. But there's no team in the top 12 that's an ACC school, and there's none that's a Power 5 school. So since those 2 schools are out right now, let's say if BYU was number 11, the conference champion from ACC would make BYU number 12. And then all of a sudden you have a Power 5 team who jumps in there, and then they would be number 12, and BYU would then be number 13. So since 2 conferences are not represented in the top 12, they will be. So they're going to jump in there and push whomever is in 11 and 12 out. So that's why you have to be in the top 10 at least right now to be able to get in. Hope that makes sense. Okay, so let's just go down through this real quick. Okay, Ohio State, hell, they could probably lose the remaining 3 games on their schedule and they're getting in. They're number 1. So if they lost a game, they probably go to 4. They lose another game, they probably go to 6. They lose another game, they're probably number 10. They're not going anywhere. They're in. Indiana, same for them. They are in. Texas A&M, they are in. Alabama, they're not going to, they're in. They're not going to lose. If they lose 2 more games, they might get in at 8-3, knowing how they love the SEC. So, no. I think if they end up going 9-3, they'd probably be out. Actually, I think a 3-loss SEC school is going to be out this year. I think the only teams that's going to make it this year are 2-loss teams. That's what I really believe. Okay, so I know I was saying stuff about Ohio State. That's really a joke. I believe if you have 3 losses, you're not going to make it. All right, so Alabama, I don't foresee them losing 2 out of the last 3 games. I don't foresee Georgia losing 2 out of the last 3 games either. Texas Tech, they're going to be just fine. They're 9-1. Ole Miss, I think they're just fine. They're 9-1 right now. Oregon is 8-1. I think they're fine. So this is where things get tricky, and this is where we got to start having some conversations right here, okay? So these are where the 2-loss teams get introduced, and all of these teams are on shaky ground right now. Notre Dame, they have a decent game. They got like a pretty tough team left to play, which is Pittsburgh. They're going to kill Syracuse. They're going to kill Stanford, but they just might lose against Pittsburgh. And even if they don't lose to Pittsburgh, they still have the same amount of losses as Miami does. So, and they lost the head-to-head to Miami. So I'm telling y'all right now, you can mark this. This is November 12th at 7:36 Central Time. I'm telling you right now, if the Hurricanes finish 10-2, Notre Dame finishes 10-2, they're going to put Miami over Notre Dame. I'm telling you that right now. telling you right now, as much as the people hate Miami and they love Notre Dame, I'm telling you right now, a 10-2 Miami, 10-2 Notre Dame, Miami's getting in over them. I'm telling you right now. And you're going to say, well, why is Notre, okay, cool. Why is Notre Dame over Miami right now? It's because Notre Dame has won 7 games in a row. That's why. Because they look like they're getting better and better and better every game. That's why. So if Notre Dame ends up winning the remainder of these games and they win 10 straight games, okay, great. They're 10-2. But then if they look at Miami, who's also 10-2, and they say, well, Miami's won these last 4 games and they look pretty good. This 4-game winning streak, they look pretty good. And they beat Notre Dame. Let's put them over. But since right now Miami has only won 1 game in a row, and Notre Dame has won 7 games in a row, that's why they're saying Notre Dame looks like a better team than Miami right now, which makes sense. All right. So there's that. Now let's look at Texas. Texas is 7-2. Texas has to play Georgia and they have to play Texas A&M. They're going to lose one of those games. So that's going to make them a 3-loss team. They're out. I'm telling you right now, Texas out. Not going to make it. Let me also say this. In order for the Hurricanes to win, this is what has to happen. Teams in this range here, from 9 to 14, they need to lose. At the same time, these teams from 16 to 20 cannot have a major upset. Meaning, if Georgia Tech goes and beats Georgia, for instance, that would do some weird stuff to us. If Michigan beats Ohio State, they're going to jump Miami. That's going to do some weird stuff to us. That's the kind of stuff that can't happen. So for the Hurricanes to get into the playoffs, teams from number 9 to 14, they need to lose. And it doesn't matter who they lose to. They can lose to a number 1 team. They can lose to an unranked team. Doesn't matter who they lose to. They just need to get another loss. Also, 16 through 20, they cannot have a major upset. That would cause them to jump the Hurricanes and the Canes would basically be out. So that's what cannot happen, okay? So, again, Texas, they've got 2 tough games, 2 really tough games. And some folks might see this Arkansas game as a game where they might lose. We've seen Texas look unbeatable at some points this year, and we've seen Texas look horrible. You don't know which team you're going to get. I suspect they're going to lose at least 1, but probably 2 games, and they'll end up being 8-4. They're out. Oklahoma, that's another team that's got a tough game left. Oklahoma plays Alabama. They're going to lose that game. Oklahoma, they're going to end up 8-3. They're out. So let's just say, so far, let's just assume Notre Dame wins the rest of their games. They're going to end up being 10-2. Texas loses 1 or 2 more games. They're jumping out. That's 1 team. Oklahoma, they lose 1 more game to Alabama. That's 3 losses. They're out, jumping behind Miami. So then Miami would go from 15 to 13 now. Okay? Now, talk about BYU. BYU doesn't have anybody on their schedule. They play Cincinnati, which I don't know much. Well, let me double check that. BYU plays Cincinnati, TCU, and UCF. That schedule's trash. Okay? And I know some folks look at Miami and they'll say Miami's schedule is trash. God bless you. Cool, whatever. I don't know much about Cincinnati. Don't care to learn much more about Cincinnati. I don't think much of that school as far as football goes. It's hard to imagine BYU losing another game with this schedule. But then again, I've watched BYU play against Colorado, and I did not think they looked very good. Especially when your quarterback is wearing like number 72 or something like that. That's nasty work. But anyway, BYU is one of those situations where I believe a 10-2 Miami is going to jump over BYU at 11-1. So right now, Miami is, keep in mind, Miami was number 18 last week, and they were 6-2. They went to 7-2 and jumped all the way to 15. With every win, Miami's going to jump somebody. I'm telling you right now. If we go and beat NC State this week and they end up 8-2, Just watch. We're going to end up, instead of being number 15, we'll end up being number 13. Then we win another game, we're going to go from 13 to 11. It's going to continue happening. Just watch and see. Okay, so BYU, they're going to get jumped. Miami, they're not going to allow an 11-1 BYU who played absolutely nobody. And once they finally did play a decent team, they got throttled. Not just beat. They didn't lose a one-possession game. BYU got killed in the one game they played a good team. So that weighs a whole lot. If they have one loss and the Hurricanes have two losses, especially since the Hurricanes beat Notre Dame, they beat Florida, they beat USF, who's also in the top 25 now, they're going to have Miami jump BYU. Same thing for Utah. I don't know who Utah has remaining on their schedule. Let's check that out real quick. Okay, Utah has Baylor, tricky K-State, and they play KU, my Jayhawks. So I live in Kansas. I love my Jayhawks. All right, so Jayhawk basketball. Jayhawk football's trash can. But anyway, I don't really foresee Utah losing another game. But this is the one team that I think everybody's looking at saying, why the hell is Utah number 13? Like, what is going on with them? Hurricanes are going to jump them. Vanderbilt will jump Utah as well. Utah will not be in that spot next week. Okay. Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is another team we got to talk about here, mainly because they've got two tough games left. I think most folks are going to look at that one team that's ranked, Tennessee, and they're going to say, oh, that's a tough game. Kentucky will sneak up and beat you. They're always decent. I'm telling you, always decent. They give Alabama the fits all the time, year after year. Kentucky always is going to show up and have a decent defense and a cool offense. So don't be surprised if Vanderbilt loses one of those two games, if not both of them. All right, so let's go through this real quick one more time, all right? I don't think Notre Dame is going to lose another game. I think Texas is going to be out. I think Oklahoma is going to be out. I think the Canes will jump BYU. If the Canes win the remaining games, obviously. So Texas, Oklahoma, BYU, Utah gets jumped, and Vanderbilt just might lose one more. So that's 5 teams. The Hurricanes are number 15 right now. That would move them up to 14, 13, 12, 11, number 10, which is exactly where they need to be. I'm not saying it's going to happen because we know what happened when we put expectations on this team. I'm not saying anything more than what I just said. I don't want to tell y'all how sure I am of this. I'm not going to tell y'all that this is going to happen, that the Hurricanes are going to win the remaining games, because we have seen what happens when we put those expectations on this team. We've seen 15 plus years of it. So I'm not going to say all that. But if they win out, wink, wink. All right, that's all I'm going to say. If they win out, I'll just leave it at that. Georgia Tech will most likely win the ACC, which I hate that because I think they just play trickery football the entire game. I think they're just gimmick-based, and I do not like a gimmick to win in anything. They're going to be watch. Georgia Tech, go ahead and mark this too, because there's probably a Georgia Tech fan or two watching this, and you can come back next year around this time and prove that I was wrong when I tell you that Georgia Tech is going to be terrible next year. Watch. They'll be bad next year. They'll probably go 6-6 or 7-5 next year. Watch. Okay, so USC, they had a tough game in which they could really upset somebody and end up jumping us. I can't think of who that was. Oh, it was Oregon. So if USC beats Iowa and Oregon, Canes are in some serious trouble, because I don't think they're going to have Oregon jump out. Oregon's only lost once. So a 10-2 Oregon is going to get in over a 10-2 Hurricanes team. I'm telling you, it's just going to happen. So we cannot have an upset like this. This is the kind of upset that would definitely knock the Hurricanes out. We cannot have USC beat Oregon. And then the other one that I mentioned was Michigan. I told y'all I don't bet I typically don't bet. I made a bet with my friend about, I think it was 17 years ago. No, 15 years ago, maybe. He's a huge Michigan fan. I'm a huge Hurricanes fan, obviously. And we made a bet on whoever's team would win the next championship would owe the other person $100. So he ended up a couple years ago. I could not believe his Wolverines ended up winning. And I just sent him a text that said double or nothing. He was like, bet. So, so we still on. But Michigan is playing Northwestern. They're going to kick them around. They're going to wear out Maryland. If they beat Ohio State, Hurricanes are in trouble there too. If Michigan can end up getting this thing 10-2, they're going to end up right behind or right ahead of Miami. I'm telling you that, especially if they beat Ohio State, they're going to end up jumping us. So, no, man. I'm not concerned at all about Iowa, not concerned about Tennessee, South Florida, Cincinnati. But yeah, man, that's where we are. Again, I'm not telling you if I'm excited. I'm not telling you if I'm expecting this to happen, meaning the Hurricanes getting into the playoffs. I'm not going to be doing all that. I'm just going to say, for the last time, if the Hurricanes win out, wink, wink. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Um, yeah, I'll leave it at that. So please do like the video, subscribe to the channel. Gonna continue building this channel one like and one subscription at a time. Every like that we get, every subscription we get, it helps me take care of my family even better. And I truly appreciate that. So let me know y'all's thoughts, man. Honestly, I don't even know if I want to read the comments because I don't want to see people starting to get excited about this stuff because we have seen what happens. I almost didn't even make this video. I'm not gonna lie to you because we have seen what happens when these Canes start to get expectations. When people start getting excited, we've seen what happens. And it's not a sample size of like a couple of years. This is a sample size of 20 years almost. Lord help us. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here, man. I'm not even gonna ask y'all for your comments in the comment section. I'm not even gonna ask you to tell me if you believe they're gonna make the playoffs if they win out. I'm not even gonna ask you that. Wink, wink. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and log off. All right. Take care. God bless. Peace.